So can we talk about this new album, Feeding the Wolves, a little bit? What can you share with our slate readers?
Feeding the Wolves for us is like, honestly, it was the album that we've been wanting to make something like this for a long time. We started out we started this band in high school. So back then our influences, were like Korn and Deftones, Metallica, all, heavy bands and stuff like that. Even though we all kind of had, varying influences, we all kind of, the common ground we all stood on was heavy music. So the first couple albums we did, they had elements of that heavy influence in it, but it was very, certain aspects were dreamy and melodic, and we, it was quite a roller coaster. But this new album, we kind of got to the point where we were like, let's kind of embrace our roots a little bit more and go back to that aggression and go back to the heavy vibe, and we latched on to that a little bit more on this album, and we're really proud of it. It felt good creating it.
Oh yeah. So are the fans happy with that? Like, was there some demand for that aggression to come back into it a little bit?
Well, my stance on that is that the fans we know we're never going to be able to please all of them. So there's going to be fans that want us to make the same album over and over and over, and then there's going to be fans where if we did that, they wouldn't be fans anymore.
Exactly.
So I think for us, we kind of realized the best thing that we can do, and really the only thing we can do if we're going to be happy doing this as a long-term career, is just create music that we genuinely feel, and we're not faking, and that we get something out of. And if that means every album's going to be different, then that's just going to be the case. But I think that there's a lot of fans that do want to hear that side of us a little bit more. And we have an independent album called Killing All That Holds You that came out very, very small run of it. It wasn't released nationally or anything.
Okay.
And that has some heavy material on it. And so the diehard fans who have got that album, they listen to that and they go, wow, this is a lot heavier than the Autumn Effect and Division, and I guess now this Feeding the Wolves has, those elements in it as well. So
definitely. So how's the feedback been with the single? Shoot It Out is the single.
Yeah, so far it's been great.
I've heard lots of positive things.
Yeah, it's been, even better and quicker moving than we expected. We knew that we'd probably catch some people off guard with it, because that song especially is pretty up-tempo, pretty aggressive, and definitely a different color of 10 Years. And I think after people hear it the first time and they get over the initial "that's 10 years" thing, then they can latch onto it a little bit better. But so far it's been great.
That's good. That's good. So is there any significance behind the album title?
Yeah, Feeding the Wolves is actually a lyric in the song Shoot It Out, and Shoot It Out essentially is about this industry just wanting every band just to shoot out singles and hit songs. And, a lot of it's about the pressure of the industry.
Of course.
So Feeding the Wolves is kind of like, I guess you could say it's a metaphor for doing what we do and being, because when you start out as a musician, before you're signed, before you have managers, before any of that stuff, you do it because you love it and because it's a passion and because it's all heart, and then all of a sudden you sign a record deal and you're touring the world and you realize, wow, the record company is counting on you to make money. There's a crew of people that you tour with that count on you as income, all these different things. So it's like the passion turns professional, and you're doing it not just for the pure love and enjoyment of it, but now it's to feed your family. So when that becomes the case, and especially when you're feeding, the record company's families and stuff, that pressure really gets tough. So Feeding the Wolves is kind of like, it's like the wolves being the machine of the industry, and it's like in order for any band to do this for a living, unless you're one of those rare exceptions that is, you have like those bands like Radiohead and Nine Inch Nails that can do things on their own without label and all that, but not every band has that luxury. So when you play the game and everything, you have to feed the machine a little bit, and
of course.
Yeah, and sometimes, I guess, being on the artistic side and the creative side of things, it's easy to get a little jaded once in a while and look at the industry as wolves, and they're preying on your artistic integrity and all that. So, without going into that whole thing, though, but really,
I think
you
the
know,
media is looked at the same way. So, like, oftentimes we get a bad rep for the same thing. You know, it's everybody's trying to feed into that market too. It's difficult.
Right.
Like, as a band, how have you guys kind of gotten past that?
It was rough for us on the last album because I think we were, even though we had a little bit of experience in the industry and we had, you know, we put out the Autumn Effect first and toured behind that, but when we went to do the second album, Division, we still were green enough and a little bit too naive to really take a stand for ourselves and just look at everybody around us and say, no, we're not going to do that. We're doing it exactly how we want to do it. And this time around, we finally did say, this is how we're doing it. This is the single we're releasing, and you know, this is how we want to shape our career. And it's really amazing how, like, I mean, liberating that is, and how it made all of us finally, you know, we're on the same page now. And it's weird because the second we did that, it's like everybody kind of jumped on board with us too.
Good.
Yeah, and there wasn't really an opposing force with the fight. It was kind of like, okay, 10 years, it has very clear vision now, let them run with it. So, you know, that's finally what we decided to do this time around in Feeding the Wolves is, you know, the product of us finally putting our foot down.
That's good. So, what are some of your plans for after Carnival and Madness tour, like, once this ends?
More singles, you know, we'll shoot it out, we're going to just see what happens with that, hope it keeps climbing. And then, you know, obviously, like, you know, release more songs to radio, and then just tour.
Yeah,
right?
You guys have spent a longer road on the time before, even, too.
Yeah. So, we're going to, I mean, after this is over, I think we're going out with Seven Dust for a tour like us and them, and I think one other band. And that'll kind of take us through the fall. And then after that, we don't really know. We know we're going to be out. We know we're going to be on the road. We just don't really know what tour it's going to be yet and all that. I mean, I'm excited to get the album out finally and to, you know, hopefully just get back into clubs and headline. You know, that's kind of like our niche.